This is Reese, and you're watching me on You Know I Got Soul.
Alright, Reese, so a few months ago you released the Fleetwood Mac cover album, Refried Mac. I guess, what has the response been? The people have heard your renditions of the songs you covered?
Well, I was nervous, first of all, like, just to hear people's rendition, people's, like, opinion, because it's such a coveted group. It's like Fleetwood Mac, like, the best classic rock group ever, but I really love those songs, and I just felt like if I do it, and I do it with, you know, I don't know, the carefulness and like, then hope, you know, people will like it, and people do like it, you know. I thought it was important for me to keep the melodies of the songs pretty close and tight to what she does, and the harmonies to like what Fleetwood Mac do in a sense, but I wanted to change everything else. So, but I'm definitely getting a good feedback, you know, and I've been like hitting up different, you know, groups like on Twitter, like, you know, hey, if you're, you know, Stevie Nicks' biggest fan, you know, at Fleetwood Mac, this or that, and I send them a link, you know, and they're promoting it. So the real die-hard fans that usually do not like you messing with their group are, you know, they're open and they like it, and it's good. So
what led you to want to do a cover album like this?
Well, to be honest, like, from the very beginning, I didn't know who Stevie Nicks was. Like, I didn't know this. I couldn't put the song and the name together. I just heard the music over the loudspeakers, like at supermarkets, and I just heard the music just everywhere, you know. And then people would tell me, after I put out They Say Vision, people were like, "Yo, you sound like Stevie Nicks," and I listened to something of hers, and I was like, "I don't sound like this," you know. Then I finally listened to the 1970 whatever version of Rumors, not the newer version of it, you know, and I was like, okay, I get it. And then that led me to, you know, research more of her music. And then a producer that I worked with was like, yeah, you should do this, and, you know, and me and him never did it. You know, he talked a good game, but we never did it. And then I ended up doing it with Tom Spiker, and he was totally on board because he loves Fleetwood Mac. He saw it as a great challenge. So and that was our first thing we ever did together, Tom and I. So.
Cool. So additionally, you've got the new album coming this year?
Yeah, we do.
Can you give us a little introduction to that and how it's coming along?
Well, you know, it's been forever since I had a solo album out, and it's time. So we decided to put Refried Mac out first to get people to know, like, okay, I'm back, I'm doing what I'm doing. Although the album is not going to sound like the Fleetwood Mac stuff. It's totally different. The album is called Reset, tentatively so far, and it's basically just a bunch of songs from, you know, from now, and then songs that I've written in the past that I feel like are so good I just can't let go of them. And now we're producing them now. So so the album is going to be partly stuff that I did in the past, but most of what I'm doing now, and yeah, and it's with all new producers. No one that I worked with in the past is going to be on it except possibly one person, this guy named Kobe James. Kobe James, he co-wrote a song called Ice King that we like, and and he's just a great songwriter, and I definitely wanted to team back up with him, and we did, and so that was one. That's the only one, but everyone else is brand new production, new writing partners, like everything new. So it's scary and exciting at the same time. You know? But the great thing is that all the people that are working on the project are people who are fans of my first album. So that's cool.
So last year, I know you were doing a lot of touring and a lot of shows, especially with Talib Kweli. You know, what was that like? How was that experience? Great.
I mean, I've gotten so much better because of, you know, being able to like perform with Kweli as often as he performs. You know, it's like being able to tag along and actually like getting better at your craft is amazing. And I don't know, we're friends, and we've always been friends because we had the same management, you know, in the past, years ago, and we began working together, and then slowly turned into us doing shows together, and you know, it's fun. Secretly, I've always wanted to be like a hype girl, like, you know, to like a rapper, like secretly, and it's sort of kind of like coming to fruition now, in a sense. So I don't know if Kweli likes it so much, but I'm totally like feeling that whole position, you know. But it's like an unofficial thing.
Right.
So it's cool, and I get to sing, so it's fun. You know, get to rock shows where like they're super packed, and I realize that in any capacity, if I'm on stage, that's like where I want to be. Whether it's my headlining show, whether I'm singing backgrounds for someone, or singing just the choruses, or ad-libbing, or just playing a tambourine, or whatever it is. Like I realize performing is the thing that I love to do.
Right.
So having a new album coming, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Right. So speaking of Talib, you've been working with him for years now. How did you guys originally link up?
We linked up because we had the same management in the past. My first manager, I don't know if it was his first manager too, but my first manager is Corey Smith, or was Corey Smith, and he managed, he had a company called Blacksmith, and Talib was a part of that management company. At one point, Mos Def was, at one point, you know, a lot of different people, Pete Rock, you know, but I think Talib and I were there the longest, and that's how we always would see each other, and then eventually started collabing, you know, and then collabing in the studio and collabing on stage. And then we both switched management, but still remained friends. So, and still, you know, peers and all that good stuff. So it's been cool, you know, it's a pleasure. It's like, it's funny because I forget sometimes like how much of an honor it is, because he's my friend.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're sitting at his house right now, you know, so it's kind of like I forget that, one, he is who he is. Like he's kind of a big deal in a sense, you know what I mean? And me and and his DJ were just talking about it recently, because we were like, yo, we you know, sometimes we take things with a grain of salt, and it's like when you step back and realize, you know, how great the person you are, that you have, you know, that you happen to be working with, it kind of validates you too, in a sense. It makes you feel great, you know. Because he's very generous as far as letting you know why you're here. Right. It's not because you're whack, you know, it's because you're helping, you're doing a great job, or, you know, you add to what I do, or, you know, so it's constant support, which is great too. Right. And it's good to get constant support for someone who is in the same business but doesn't really do what you do. You know, it's one thing to have, you know, another singer can recognize if another singer can sing or something, you know, but sometimes it's great to be recognized by someone who is great at their craft and it's something completely different, you know, because they don't have to like it. It's not their thing. Right. So it's like even more flattering. So I've had a lot of great opportunities. I was able to go on the road for like 2 months with Talib, recently opening up for Macklemore around Lewis. That was ridiculously great, and just all the shows from South by Southwest he brings me out, and you know, for me the only payback is, you know, coming out with Reset and it doing great. Right. You know, that's the only payback. Everything else is like no. Yeah. So cool. I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to say, look, this, you know, you helped me out so much, and this is what I'm doing, and look how great it's coming out. You know. Enjoy. Your music, it's not something you can put in a box genre-wise. You know, it's so many different influences. But you know, people in music, they always like to fit things into genres. Of she's R&B, she's pop, she's rock. But I'm just curious, like, what types of fans do you see coming and taking to your music? Do you see fans of all different genres? You know, like, what do you see? I see. It's almost like I see different pockets of different types of people, you know, over the years. In general, it's kind of like a Prince show. It's like everybody, you know, it's like the person that looks like you, and the person, you know, it's like the college girls that, you know, look like how I look. And then there's like the college girls that just like alternative music, and they just like girl power songs in a sense. And then there's guys who like, you know, R&B, like sexy girls, you know, like singing and vibes. And then it's, you know, people that just like good music. It's not really a certain demographic or a certain age. I've had people that are, you know, 60 years old come to my shows, and I've had kids that are like, you know, trying to get in the show. They're like 14. They're like, can you just get us in? You know, so it's cool. Yeah, it's, you know, it's a hip hop, someone who loves hip hop, someone who only listens to hip hop, but they kind of like what I do, or they listen to neo soul and they love me, and they love Algebra Blessed, and they like Jill Scott, and they like Bilal, and then so it's all different types of people. It's not just like one demographic.
Right. Very eclectic mix.
Yeah. It's not like going to like a Krayshawn show. You know what I mean? Like you go to a Krayshawn show, there's literally two types of people there, like kids that pretty much like look like her and that have that whole vibe, and or their parents.
Right.
Because they're so young, they can they can't go to a concert by themselves. But mine is a lot more diverse, and I'm grateful for that.
Cool. Just want to wrap up the interview by talking about your origins in music. I always love to hear the history and how things kind of got started. And I was doing some research today, and I was reading that you originally were offered to join Groove Theory. Is that true? Can you just talk about that?
It's totally true. I was like, making a demo in Brooklyn in like 1990 something, and like I got a demo deal at Epic, and they gave me literally $7,000, and they were like, do a whole, 5 or 6 songs. So we did. Now it's interesting because those 5 or 6 songs actually are on How I Do. So it's crazy that like really what we did first really like resonated with people, and we were able to keep those same songs. Sitting Back was one of those songs. The Hustler was one of those songs, and then they said, okay, we like what you did, but why don't you go back in the studio? We'll give you $32,000 and make 2 songs, and if we like those, then we'll see. And I was like, you gave me 7 to do a handful, but you guys are fucking with me now.
Yeah.
And now you want me to do 2 for 30. I was like, you know what? How about I'll just keep these songs, and you can keep the money, and I'll just shop it and try to get a deal, because it made me realize that it was really that good. Mm-hmm. So then we shopped it, and that's kind of how it came about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But the Groove Theory thing, like when I did I did all these demos with Sony. Groove Theory was signed to Epic, I believe, at the time. Right. And they were looking for somebody to replace Amel LaRue. Right. And it's like, you can't replace Amel LaRue. You cannot replace Amel LaRue. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Maybe you can like replace her with her daughter, who is like just as an amazing singer, who I saw not too long ago. But still, that's still different. It's like Amel LaRue. Like, she has the most beautiful sounding feminine voice. So I just declined because at the time I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted to be I wanted to do a solo thing, and I loved the songs that we'd done, and they were doing something completely different. Right. So I was like, I think I just want to take the songs and shop them around and see if someone else likes them enough, because they liked them enough to give me damn near 3 times the amount to do a couple more, but not enough to say we're going to put it out. Right. So is that, when you were shopping around, is that what led you to MCA and getting signed there? How did it find you? Well, I took those songs from that demo, and after a certain amount of time, I couldn't shop them at first. I had to wait like 6 months because it was a contract. Right. They wanted to decide what they were going to do, and that was what they came back with. They were like, either you can do this or not. I said not, and took those songs and shopped them around to other places. I got a manager at the time who was Corey Smith, who's the guy that Talib and I met through, and that was also when I was working with Santi White, who is Santa Gold. Right. And those two definitely were my champions. And they championed me to a bunch of labels. It was like Elektra, Virgin liked it. And that was around the time D'Angelo had just got signed or was going to get signed there. And Rough House Records, who put out Fugees, I'm from Philly, so that was like a huge deal. And MCA, and out of all of them, MCA gave me the best deal financially.